Right. Xbox Games Pass hurts sales, says Dev behind Xbox Game Pass titles. The answer is yes. Yes, it does. It hurts sales. Everyone but Microsoft. Microsoft's fine because they're getting a nice regular flow of income here. He thinks that Xbox games hurt sales with a lot of people in the industry just trying games for a few minutes and don't invest in them. Sounds familiar. He also prefers the old premium model where games sold for £30 and then were delivered on good quality. Sounds familiar. Just read my notes through. Also pitched Summerfield to Google Stadia, but ended up partnering with Microsoft because they offered a good deal and liked their vision for gaming. This guy, I'll go back to in a moment. Sorry, I'm reading my notes. This is Dino Pat, co-founder of Play Dead and
Dino Patty.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like a footballer. Dino Patty. Patty!
Yay! Goal!
Go.
Sorry, I should have said that up front. So yeah, he's sitting there thinking. I think that you're right. I think Games Pass bits do, especially day one day releases. Especially if it waits like 90 days and then appears on Games Pass, it'll be less because the people who are really keen will buy your game, play your game, love your game, and then 90 days later, the other lot will try your game. Some will play it, some will enjoy it, some will just leave it. So I think day one is the equivalent of what Netflix does with the binging model, where they drop an entire series all at once, they binge it, and then you just cancel Netflix at the end of the month because you've got nothing else to watch. So Netflix, I think, are going to move on to weekly. You'll see that happen quite a bit.
Yeah, started to see that.
There are good. I do think Games Pass is a good thing and a bad thing all at once. This is the annoying thing. It's one of those things where I think the idea is solid, but the execution needs some fine tuning. Because I know Nige, you said that you tried it, but I literally went through the entire Xbox One library of games that I hadn't played through Games Pass. I played the co-op ones with our mate Carl.
Yeah.
And enjoyed those ones. It's like Gears of War. If you want to team up and do co-op on Gears of War, that's a hoot. That really is. I wish it was like 4-player co-op because it's that I enjoyed it that much.
Is that the new
so
one?
If you want to team up on that, that's the remake. That's the 4 and that's 5.
Okay.
I actually 5 was less enjoyable because they kind of went away from the main characters and stuff, and I don't know what they were doing storyline wise. I still played it and completed it, but it wasn't.
The message.
Yes, it was. It was the equivalent of Halo 5 Guardians. That's the best way of describing it. Ironically, being number 5 too. They seem to fuck up 5s. And I don't know what's happened to Warhammer Dark Tide that was supposed to be on Games Pass. That was supposed to be a day one release. Hasn't released on PS5. Hasn't released on Xbox X Series. I can't find any news on it anywhere. Because that was something on Games Pass that I was looking forward to.
I was looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, we were planning on teaming up. Me, you, Carl, and his mate. I can't remember Andy. So we were going to go through that and play that together. But no joy. So I do think it's good, but at the same time, he's right. It does. This stuff does hurt sales. It's
I think so
because you don't give it time. Don't give anyone any time to do it, and then you have the over choice, and it's Spotify versus buying a CD. You bought a CD of a band that you really liked. Yeah. You'd listen to that those 2 tracks that you really enjoyed, and then you'd creep off and then listen to a few more, and it's like, oh, I started enjoying these other tracks, and then before you know it, you've listened to the entire album. You pretty much like the entire album apart from one song. And then sometimes you even find like hidden songs, and then we got like 5 minutes of empty time, and then they've tacked on a track right at the end. Thanks, Paradise Lost.
I was going to say, because that's a shame. Because just quickly regarding albums. Somebody spent time constructing those track lists in a particular order, so you enjoy the album, and Spotify just ruins all that.
And I think it's the same with Games Pass with games too, because there's an amount of games I dip into and dip out. So like I think the one I should have played and complete was Atomic Heart. I had a train crash, and then I gave up on it because I found more stuff more interesting because you get a little magpie-ish. The next shiny thing. Play next shiny thing. I
need to return back to that game as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you did what I did. You played it, and then something else cropped up, and then and I think that's the downfall of Games Pass there. and that's what what's his name, Dino Patti was talking about in regards to people not engaging as much with it. So yeah, well, what's your opinion on Games Pass, Nige? If you right, so hang on a second, no, Nige, if you were a developer and it worked, would you release it on Games Pass day one like other people have done, or would you release it like 90 days later, like we discussed?
Okay, if I'm a dev, let's say I'm making my first game, and I can't really afford to do the promotional bits because otherwise it will eat into any profit I would ever make on a game. Then for me, it would make sense to release it on Game Pass. Hopefully, people like it. Word of mouth, people start playing it. They like your game. It gets a bit of exposure that way. And as a bonus, you get paid by Microsoft for it being on the platform. Fantastic. Now, the next game you make, you've already gained a bit of trust from people who are playing your game. So, in my opinion, you could probably do it slightly differently on the next game or maybe the game after. So you build through Game Pass, you're building a bit of a following for the games that you make. And so the next game, hopefully you'll get a little bit more traction. And then the next game, maybe you do it differently. You release it everywhere. And then later you stick it on Game Pass, if that's an option. I think it's a good thing for smaller devs that don't really have the money to spend on marketing to promote the game that you're making. I think it's a good thing. And people normally wouldn't find your game or play it had it not been on Game Pass.
In the good old days, you'd have these people called publishers that sort this stuff out for you. But now publishers aren't interested in these smaller games. No. So if and I always say this about the A and the B games, and picking up those kind of A and B games, if Microsoft's Games Pass is going to do that, then I like it. That's one good thing I can say about it. Okay, the overchoice is a problem, but yeah, I like that. That's a good thing.